What's good, YouTube fight fans all over the world? It's your boy Real Talk Boxing. I'm back at it again. Listen, De La Hoya says that Spence loses to Pacquiao and Crawford. I totally agree. Oscar De La Hoya says Errol Spence will lose to Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford due to their technical abilities. De La Hoya states that Pacquiao's speed and mobility will be too much for Spence. 27 wins, 0 losses, 21 knockouts. Oscar's reason for picking Crawford, 37 wins, 0 losses, 28 by knockout over Spence, is because he views him as a better fighter. Even though he's not proven himself against A-level welterweights, we could see if Pacquiao and Crawford have the goods to beat Spence if they are willing to negotiate at the right price. We all know it's about the bag. Crawford would have to likely agree to 60-40 cut if he wants Spence to give him a fight in 2021. I think Crawford should definitely do that. Go ahead and take the 60-40, bro. Because I agree with De La Hoya wholeheartedly, man, because even though Manny Pacquiao is in his 40s, Manny Pacquiao is still very, very mobile. Manny Pacquiao is still a guy who has great in and out movement. He has great angle distinction in the ring. The dude is just mobile. He's very, very mobile, and he still has pop. He can still surprise you with a shot you don't see and put you on your butt. I think Errol Spence is just too slow. Too slow and too flat-footed for Manny Pacquiao. Now, as far as Terence Crawford, yeah, okay, listen, Terence Crawford may not have the best resume out of all the top welterweights, but he's still the best welterweight out there. I mean, I just feel that, that's my opinion, man. Crawford has just so many levels to his arsenal. He adapts in the ring. He starts a little, it takes him a little bit to get started up. So if you're going to catch him or get him, you got to get him early. But once he understands what type of fighter you are, and he understands where you're going to be, and he understands how to gauge his range, and once he figures you out, it's a wrap. You're not winning the fight. Crawford just has many, many levels and a lot of tools in his arsenal. You know what I'm saying? He's a switch hitter. He can fight orthodox or southpaw. He has a great jab. He can counterpunch. He can sit down in the pocket, and he can raw dog with you. You know what I'm saying? He just has everything. He's a complete fighter. He's a complete fighter, and I don't see Errol Spence as being a complete fighter. Errol Spence does some things good, but we've only really seen him box once, and that was against Mikey Garcia. But what's going to happen when someone applies the pressure to him and backs him up? You know what I'm saying? If you remember the fight between him and Kell Brook was winning the first half of that fight because he was actually bagging Errol Spence up and being the more aggressive fighter. He was bullying the bully. But Errol Spence just stayed relentless, started going to that body. Body work is very, very, very important. I state that all the time. So I agree 100% with De La Hoya, man. The dude knows what he's talking about. He's also been in there with Pacquiao, a younger Pacquiao, by the way. He actually retired Oscar De La Hoya. De La Hoya just didn't have a chance in that fight, man. I mean, it wasn't anything he could possibly do physically to hurt or catch Manny Pacquiao in that fight. Did y'all guys see that fight? It was a pretty good fight, man. It was one-sided. But, you know, yeah, but I agree with De La Hoya, man. Errol Spence, you know what I'm saying? I think it's just only a matter of time. If he doesn't want to lose those straps, he better stay away from Crawford, and he better stay away from Manny Pacquiao, because those two fighters, I do believe, will beat Errol Spence Jr. But I think the only welterweight that will beat Manny Pacquiao is Terence Crawford. I've stated that. So let me talk about something else right quick, a little bit off subject, all right? I posted a video of some of my old highlights and sparring sessions. My last video, because there was someone commenting on my page and said, "Hey man, I can't find anything of you. I would like to see some." Well, they just stated I can't find none of you. Did you actually fight? Did you fight? You know, I didn't know whether he was just curious or he was just, calling me a liar. I don't know which one it was. So I put it up on there. Now, mind you guys, I understand that when you put yourself out there on the internet, you know, you're going to get people that critique you, that hate on you, that just, you know, give you constructive criticism. You know what I'm saying? I get that. I understand that. But I'm the type of dude, I visualize things better. So show me. You know what I'm saying? Show me better than you can tell me. I had a dude that was basically saying, yo, your head move is trash, bro. You know, you subject to get hit. You just don't move your head. I could tell by the heavy bag. You don't never move your head on the heavy bag. And what I threw back at him is experience. You know, have you ever been in the ring? Have you ever been punched in the face? Have you ever strapped up? And I give it to the guy. He was completely honest. He said, you know, I haven't. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I know the sweet science. You know a portion of the sweet science, but you don't have the experience because you've never been in there. So let me explain something to you guys, all right? And I'm actually going to look for a seasoned fighter, someone who's a world-class fighter, a world champion, who was once a world champion. And that's my man from the UK, Turbo Fight Hub. So Turbo, everybody knows me and you are cool. So I want you to be completely honest about what I'm about to say, and I want you to comment below. If I'm spot on and you agree with it, tell it. If you're not, if you disagree with what I'm saying, say it. Just because we cool, I want you to be honest. But I'm talking to a world-class fighter right now. So Turbo, correct me if I'm wrong. All right. You know, I'll give y'all a story. Let me give y'all a story. I was at the Blues Gym in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was trained by a professional kickboxer. He didn't teach me kickboxing. He didn't teach me teeps, kicks, elbows. I just wanted to learn boxing. And he was willing to do that. And I remember coming into the gym and there was this fighter there. He wasn't a member of our gym. He was just a guy there getting some work, getting some sparring. And this dude looked like Mike Tyson on that bag. His power, his footwork, his fluidity, his ability to fire off shots right after he slips a punch was scary. And I remember walking in and looking at him on the bag, and I told my trainer, man, I would hate to get in the ring with him. And you know what he said? He asked me a question. He said, why? Why would you say that? And I'm like, well, look at him. And he said, well, first off, Brian, listen, you got to understand something. That bag ain't hitting back. It's easy to look good on the bag. Okay? He says, and you can't gauge his caliber as a fighter by him just punching on that bag. That man might lack heart. He might not be willing to go the extra mile, and that would put you in a position to beat this guy. So don't judge anybody off the bag. And the same thing with sparring. You know, if I'm getting hit, okay, he said something about the people I was fighting. I was sparring, actually. And he said, listen, you know, your hand speed, you had the upper hand on the hand speed, but you could be countered. Maybe that's the reason why they weren't countering you, or yada, yada, yada. But here's the thing. All those people that you saw me sparring with, I was actually training those guys. And people with experience knows that sometimes when you're in there sparring, you are giving certain fighters, the more inexperienced fighter, what you call a look. You understand what that is, Turbo? I'm giving this guy a look. I'm allowing him to do certain things. I'm not allowing him to do certain things. So if I'm trying to teach this dude to shoot a certain shot when I'm leaning to the left and I'm not moving my head and connect with it, that's a look that I'm giving him. So you can't gauge an opinion really off sparring either. You can a little bit, but all those guys that you saw me sparring with, I was actually training those guys. See, that's what you fail to understand. That's the experience factor right there. So when I'm working on a bag, y'all, I'm not working on head movement. I'm working on endurance, constantly striking, trying to build my cardiovascular. That's what I'm doing on the bag. So you won't ever see me doing much head movement on the bag. But it's different when I'm on the hand mitts. It's different when I'm sparring somebody who actually has just as much experience as me or more. And it's totally different when I'm under the lights in a sanctioned bout. So you can't gauge certain things off of what you see in training. All right? So that's the lack of experience that I'm talking about. You can have your opinion. You can know boxing. Max Kellerman knows boxing. But he don't fully know it because he ain't never strapped up. Larry Merchant knows boxing, but he ain't never strapped up. The only commentator that wouldn't nitpick and pick fights with commentators who were actual world champions like Paulie Malignaggi and Roy Jones Jr. was Jim Lampley. Jim Lampley never argued with those guys because you know what? He understood that they had experience that he didn't have. You can know boxing all day, but if you don't have that secondary experience, then you don't fully know boxing. Because if you did, you would understand. You would have sit back and said, well, maybe Real Talk just giving those guys a look. Maybe he's just working with them. Maybe he's just getting cardio work on the bag. He ain't worried about head movement. He just want to throw as many punches around so he can build up his cardio and get in better shape. Not to say, oh, he's a bigger guy. He don't want to gas out. You never know the situation. And you never know what people are working on. That's my point. So, Turbo, correct me if I'm wrong. You were a world-class fighter. A world champion, bro. Miles ahead of me. I'm just an amateur. I sucked. But I still strapped up. And out of the 8, 9 amateur bouts that I had in these local tournaments in Texas, I lost 1. So I was doing something right. So that's the difference between someone who actually knows the sweet science versus someone who has full-on hand-to-hand combat experience with the sweet science. That's the difference. Never mind my opinion or my comment. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. As always, respect all, fear none, God bless, and I don't mind constructive criticism. But if you can't show me, I can only take your opinion so far. God bless. Peace out, y'all.